Hey everybody, hello, my name is Darius Anucauskas and I'm a global market analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Monday. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a busy week ahead of us, so a lot of inflation numbers, a few interest rate decisions here and there. So yes, about all this and a little bit more in this webinar, so stick around, hopefully you'll enjoy the session, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, and good morning. I hope you can hear me and see me well. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, this is me, Darius Anucauskas from Markets.com, and today is Monday, the 19th of May, 2025 still. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. So you're all feeling nice and refreshed and ready to hit the markets. Now, look, we're going to talk finances here. I mean, we're going to talk financial markets here, not finances, financial markets here, and we're going to see what's happening, what happened last week, and what is coming up this week. So before we jump into all that action, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. So yes, now I'm going to do the usual good morning in the chat room, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There we go. Yes. So also, just before we jump into the charts, just a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So now then, ladies and gentlemen, yes, let's have a look what's happening here. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I will try to go through the economic events which are happening this week first, and then I'm going to pick up on the indices. And yes, I mean, I'm looking at, and also in terms of the indices, I will be kind of picking up on the slightly different ones, the ones that are kind of closed, not the cash indices. So I just want to go like from the perspective of when the market is open in general during working hours. So yes, first of all, what's happening here? Let me just close this very quickly. Let me just jump into the economic calendar. I was checking out who was liking my ideas here on trading, on our trading view page. And look, let's start off with Monday, right? So we kicked off the day with some numbers from New Zealand. So PPI numbers came out, so those are on the higher side, on the better side. I'll pick up on maybe on the New Zealand dollar in a bit, but also then we were followed by some data from China, and industrial production year on year managed to come out higher than the forecast, but of course still lower than the previous. Similar story with the retail sales, almost similar story with the retail sales, came out lower actually, but still okay, still above 5%, and the unemployment rate declined, which is good, a good sign. So in terms of China 50 index here, we can see that would it decline a little bit, so maybe the numbers were not really that satisfying. But again, look, first of all, let's continue with the data here. In terms of Japanese stuff, there's not much today. We will get the we'll get the European inflation numbers, the final ones, not the preliminary ones, but the final ones. So keep your eyes on that one. So yes, at the moment the expectation is for a 2.2%. And then after that we're going to go further. Nothing major. We have a few speakers, Fed speakers coming out today on the calendar, so we'll look at that and we'll see how the market if the market picks up on any of that. And then going into Tuesday, so the first interest rate decision this week, and that's going to be from the Chinese PBOC, the People's Bank of China here. The interest rate is expected to drop a little bit. Now that's going to be quite interesting to see, to be honest. We have been stalling, or should I say they have been stalling for quite a while. We're still sitting at the same interest rate. Now I think it's time for them to go and cut rates, and they have been at 3.6 since October of 2024. So look, now they're going for that cut. I think that they're trying to stimulate the economy in general because we saw last week the U.S. administration kind of running around Middle East, kind of making deals. So maybe that's what something is trying to, something is worrying the Chinese, and kind of they're trying to boost their economy a little bit. So by throwing out a little small cut here of 10 basis points, let's see if we do get some sort of reaction there. Going further, we get the same day, after a few hours, we're getting the RBA interest rate decision. Now there we're also expected to see a cut, but this time a 25 basis point cut. Now look, we have been on an elevated area for a while, and now they're slowly trying to play the catch-up game, in my opinion, because they were, look, in terms of RBA kind of maybe lagging with the cuts, I have no issues there because their inflation is fine. In general, their economy is fine, and there was no need to go like very quickly into those cuts as everybody else did, like for example the ECB as well. So they're taking a careful, I think, approach. In my opinion, that's all okay. They're going for another cut. That's fine. Maybe we'll see some action, on Australian dollar, maybe to the downside against its major counterparts, but still, nevertheless, it's still okay. Maybe, the indices could get pushed, but the index could get pushed. So long story short, keep your eyes on this one. It's like I said, if you are trading something Australian dollar related, then certainly keep your eyes on that one, because again, that is quite an important piece of information coming out. Just to double check, I just wanted to quickly double check their inflation number. Inflation at 2.4, which is still within the target, of the RBA. So hey, nothing major, no issues there found, in my opinion. Okay, 2.4, they're sitting at that one, so that's the Q-on-Q figure, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well, but when the time comes. The next inflation number will be on the 30th of July. At the moment, that one, even right now, there's a little forecast that number could go lower than 2.4. So in a way, I think that maybe this is what's now bothering the RBA, that maybe there are some deflationary risks, so maybe that's why they are jumping into that little potential cut. So potential, I'm saying for now, but again, I think that it's already like kind of getting priced in. So let's keep an eye on this one. Let's see if there's not going to be a surprise, let's say even for a lower rate. Which I doubt, to be honest. Then after that, the next big thing could be the Canadian inflation numbers, which are coming out. So those are also expected to drop significantly, dropping below 2%. So let me just double check very quickly. I think it's 2% inflation, between 1 and 2 and 3%. So yes, Bank of Canada's inflation target is between 1 and 3%. Look, at the moment, everything isn't still in line, but we're kind of now shifting more towards the lower side of that range. And of course, that's what's worrying the BOE, the BOC. But again, let's see what's going to happen here. Of course, how far we're going to drop. Are we going to drop to that 1.6 or even lower? If we drop even lower, then this could play out negatively for the Australian dollar. Australian. What am I talking about? Honestly, my mind is not here today. Canadian dollar. Oh my God. I was talking about this RBA, and now I'm shifting towards Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you got the picture, right? Right. Okay. Inflation numbers, like I said, we keep your eyes on this 1.6. This is something that, like I said, for me is going to be quite important to see if you are trading Canadian dollar. Yes, 1.6. If we're going to drop even below the 1.6, then we could see more weakness in the Canadian dollar. Let's see how that's going to play out, of course. Jumping into further data that day, API crude oil stock exchange coming in from the US, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, jumping into Wednesday, we have the New Zealand trade balance coming out, Japanese trade balance coming out. So yes, a few speeches, as I can see here, from the Federal Reserve, late speeches. But then the next big thing is the UK inflation. So like I said, this week we have inflation, we have the interest rate decisions from these top banks from China and Australia. But UK inflation, let's have a look. Inflation is expected to increase, actually, unlike any other country, kind of developed country. UK inflation is expected to go up here. I mean, that is quite interesting. So look, the target of the BOE, now I managed to get it right, the BOE's target is at 2%. And this is already, let's say, overstretching it. So I think that these guys will need to kind of consider a possibility for a rate hike at some point. But again, at the moment, they are cutting, and 4.25 is their current interest rate. Look, during the recent move, they did go lower. They did drop it from 4.5 in May. In the beginning of May, they dropped it to 4.25. So look, I think that the next interest rate decision, which is coming out in June, the 19th of June, is expected to, again, to be cut. So, but if inflation is on the higher side, I mean, it becomes a little bit of a difficulty. So you cannot really overdo it with those cuts here, you know, because again, if your inflation is like this, unlike any other developed country, it's growing here, then yeah, then you cannot really stick to the plan of other developed countries and kind of continue cutting rates. Well, unless there is another situation here where basically everybody's trying to make the pound a little bit cheaper to make exports, more attractive. So basically, if you devalue the pound, and given that we are currently seeing those trade issues, then your goods, especially your automobiles, becoming a little bit more expensive, for the U.S. market, especially, like I said, especially for the U.S. market. So again, we can think a lot of things, but at the moment it's a very interesting situation here in UK. You have your inflation numbers getting higher, and you have your BOE who's continuing to consider rate cuts. Now, going further in the day, and Wednesday, what do we have here? We have EIA crude oil stock change numbers, something that for those who are trading oil should keep an eye on. Going into Thursday, let's jump in Thursday. So we on the Japanese front, Tankan Index, machinery orders. Now this is something that's going to be quite interesting to see. The machinery orders, those are expected to have declined significantly. From Australia, we have the preliminary composite manufacturing services PMIs, as you can see here. Same story with the Japan. I mean, we also composite manufacturing and services PMIs, also the estimates, the preliminary ones. But then going further, the same story is happening from the European side, and then from the UK side, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be from the US side. So everybody on Thursday, basically keep your eyes on the composite manufacturing and services PMIs, the estimates from top major countries here. Canada, by the way, will be delivering its PPI figures. So yes, we had the CPIs recently. So let's see what's going to happen with the PPIs. Just a quick myself, I want to quickly remind myself, because that was recently the inflation number came at 2.3, the headline one. That was on the lower side, and that came out at that was on the last reading was on the 15th of April. But don't forget that, like I said, on on Tuesday we're going to get the inflation numbers as well, Canadian inflation numbers, which are expected to go down, which I said before. So, and on the CPIs are coming out on Tuesday. On Thursday, we're getting the PPIs, the Canadian PPI. So if you are trading something Canada related, honestly, this could be quite an interesting period. So yeah, going at Thursday, nothing major then after that. And Friday, New Zealand retail sales are coming out. Then Japanese inflation numbers are coming out as well. Something to keep in mind. Chinese foreign direct investment is coming out as well. Very interesting to see there. And Canada's retail sales to watch after that. So basically a lot of interesting data, actually economic data, which is coming out, and which should be quite important in a way for everybody. If you are trading something, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar related, US dollar related. So yes, if you're into more Forex, I think this week could be an very interesting one for you. So let's jump into the technical part here very quickly. So Nikkei 225. Look, I talked about this before. Let me bring some levels back to the table here. Now, we had some good resistance here. For example, this 38,220 zone has provided strong resistance. And okay, look, I said it before and I'll say it again. Maybe, just maybe, we have ourselves something of an inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is basically marking this little territory right there. So look, long story short, if let me just highlight this a little bit more. There we go. So basically, we are, like I said, we're forming something like this. So if this is a left shoulder and if this is a head, then we need to still form the right shoulder. Now, I will consider this as a possible inverted head and shoulders as long as we stay somewhere above these two lines here, ideally above this 36,585 territory, because at the same time we could stay above the 50-day EMA. And if that reverses back up, great, wonderful, we could start looking at some higher levels. But again, at this point, if this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern, then well, we need to break through the neckline, which is around the 38,000 kind of 130 220 zone here, and then we'll go from there. Jumping into China 50 index here, again, like I said, keep your eyes on that PBOC interest rate decision. If we see a cut, a nice decent cut in there, then we could see a nice rally back up here. But my barrier for the upside is still this 13,800 zone. Australian index, given that we are having the interest rate decision. So look, we had a decline on Monday. And we're kind of in this little retracement mode right now, if I'm not mistaken, because look, we had a great run, don't get me wrong, but it may be a little bit of time for a retracement back down, a little bit of a correction, and my beloved Fibonacci level, let's have a look at this one. So drawing from the lowest point of April to the current highest point of May, so you can see that the 23.6 aligns beautifully with my EMA. So by the time this could potentially travel lower, we are seeing that these EMAs could approach this 23.6, and then from here we could go, we could rebound and push back up. So let's see how this is if this is gonna play out this way or not. And also, given that the market is currently getting a little bit spooked or something, because again, because the U.S. kind of got downgraded apparently by Moody's to so A and smaller A's, two smaller A's, no, not triple A, but like A and a large A and two smaller A's, if I can say it this way. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so yes, the US got a little bit downgraded, and maybe the market is kind of worried about this, that there could be some knock-on effects and maybe that's why there's a little bit of profit taken. But look, everything is in line, everything is in line with expectations. Again, we had a great run, so you're not going to really start, continue buying here. Maybe a little bit of a retracement is needed, and this is what I talked in one of my videos here on Markets.com trading view page, where I said that, look, maybe we need a little bit of a retracement here in DAX. I'll get to DAX in a bit. First, let's jump into Dow Jones Industrial Average. So on Friday, we had a good close here. We went for a new high for the week. There we go. Look at this. But we failed to close above the high of 26th of March. And by the way, I'm not looking at the cash index. I'm looking at this. These are trading hours. These are trading hours of the index. So I decided to, I think that this way we can, just kind of have a better look. The cash index is probably trading somewhere else right now. I'm not even looking at down. So I'm just at the moment I'm trying to focus on these numbers instead. And basically here the all-time highs around the 45,073 territory. That's fine. In a way, we could see a move higher, but again, let's not forget that maybe, just maybe, we could see something like this as well, where we could see a decline and then a push back up here. So basically, I'm talking about a possible inverted head and shoulders pattern as well. And if that's the case, then hey, could be an interesting move here back down. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the left shoulder here. We'll keep it because it looks more like a little bit of a complex inverted head and shoulders with two heads on the bottom. So yes, let's see if this is gonna play out this way or not. The S&P 500, so this one continued to rally. Look at this. I mean, this has been a spectacular move by the S&P. I'm looking at the weekly chart right now, and basically I said to you last week, I am targeting the current all-time high near the 6,147 zone here, and look, if we can reach that one, then amazing. What can I say? Then amazing. We're not far, and I think it's quite doable. But let's face it, a little bit of retracement could be nice here. Now, again, we've surpassed this barrier here, the 5,787. In a way, are we going to go all the way right now to the current all-time high? Well, I don't want to rush into things, no, because again, there are some ups and downs here, but hey, there is, like I said, a possibility, of course, to go to test that 6,000 zone. Maybe we'll go to test the 6,000 and then we're going to drift back down. But again, keep your eyes on this one. If we start shifting below last week's, let's say below Friday's low near the 5,907 zone, if we stay below this area, I will consider a bit of a retracement a little bit earlier. NASDAQ 100, let's have a look at this one. Yep, continued to rally. Look at this, and we had a fantastic view on the had a fantastic week on the NASDAQ last week, and we are, yes, slowly approaching the all-time high near the 22,222 here. Hey, I don't think that this is a big problem for us, for us to see this reach. However, given that we had such a steep up move, a little bit of a retracement here could be possible. And again, I'm looking at the Friday's low near the 21,246. If we do drop below it, I'll consider a move to the downside a little bit more, maybe even back to all these EMAs. The US dollar index, like I said, yes, keep your eyes on it. It's at a very interesting spot right now. Look, we are trading lower, but the positivity is that we are still above this upside line right here, taken from the low of the 21st of April. So if you're looking at some higher levels, then there is still a chance for a rebound here and a push back up. However, this little obstacle here, this 102 zone, is a somewhat of a pain, So look, if we want to go for some higher levels, I think that just kind of wait for a push above that 102 zone, and then we could go from there. At the same time, we will be placed above the 50-day EMA, and everything would be very nice, at least for the bulls. If we do break this upside line, then of course, in everybody's mind, it will be the lowest point of April here near the 97.92 zone. The German index DAX. So yes, keeping an eye on this one. Look at this. So basically, we are open right now already. And we are trading a little bit to the downside in comparison to where we were on Friday. Look, on Friday we tried to go for a new all-time high. We failed to kind of break the barrier here, and instead we kind of formed something of a doji, and it looks to me more like a island reversal here. So So look, if this is going to be the case, if basically the island reversal needs to happen, if we see this long body here to the upside, but then we have a little doji here, and then today's candle is going to close to the downside, then this kind of leads to a little bit of a possible retracement in a way, and you know, we could see a move lower, especially if we also start falling below the highs of March of this year, which are near the 23,475. If we do drop below that, great, I'll consider a move to the downside. The FTSE 100. So the FTSE 100 is drifting a little bit lower here. Again, the same story. We're getting a nice little correction, but of course, keep your eyes on the data. Keep your eyes on the economic data this week. Starting, like I said, starting from Tuesday. If I'm not, yeah, where's that number? No. Wait. Thursday. Was it Thursday? Just a second. Where's that UK? Now, Wednesday, that's core inflation. There we go. So starting from Wednesday. Wednesday is the more interesting day here for the UK stuff, the UK instruments. Inflation numbers are coming out. So if those are coming out a little bit on the lower side, then hey, that's in a way great for the stock market here, and we could see this one rallying a little bit more. But again, let's not forget that the same story seems to be happening here as well. We could be seeing something of an inverted head and shoulders pattern here. Let me just see if this is going to work nicely or not. Ish, but no, it's like trying to see something where it's not, basically. So yeah, it's I mean, you can do this, but again, it's all subjective. So at the moment, let's not rush into things. For now, I think I'm just going to go higher if we do pop above this barrier 8,742. Then yes, I'll go for the current all-time high. Let's jump into the commodity world, ladies and gentlemen. Gold, look at this roller coaster ride. I mean, boom to the downside on Wednesday last week, boom to the upside on Thursday, to the downside on Friday. Eventually, we kind of stayed somewhat above this area, almost, I would say. 13,200, that's what I was keeping an eye on. We did remain above that 3,200 zone, and there we go. This is the moment that's happening, and the moment, I would say, I'm looking at this 3,250 zone. If we can clear that one, so far it's providing good resistance. If we can clear that barrier, I'm leaning towards the upside here, because again, we seem to be in a falling channel here, and if that's the case, then yep, it is opening the door to the upper side of this falling channels. Let's jump into silver very quickly. Silver. Okay, with silver, the same story is probably valid, because maybe we're forming something of a falling channel here. And if that's the case, let me just double check, then we're also shifting a little bit more towards higher areas. So just a sec, let me just see if this is gonna make sense or not. In a way, but I think we're trying to see something where it's not, but again, we can keep an eye on this one, to be honest. So look, if it is a falling channel, then if you're looking for some higher levels, then wait for a breakout here to the upside. And at the moment, I think that the wait here needs to happen, because again, while we remain inside the formation, we can still drift lower. However, of course, the positivity here is that the prevailing trend was to the upside before entering this downward channel. So the greater chance for this one to break out is to the upside. However, a confirmation break is still needed, because until we remain inside the pattern, we can still drift to the downside. Let's jump into WTI oil, ladies and gentlemen. So I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm still bearish. Let me just draw a few things here and there. Basically, I'm still bearish because we're still below the downside line. This downside line has been from the highest point of January this year. Of course, the decline has started way too much earlier, and yep, we're getting some up moves here and there, but in general, I am still somewhat bearish. And another thing that I've talked about last week, was, let me just put this on the chart, maybe, just maybe, we are within a range of some sort at the moment, and maybe that's the case. However, I have to say that maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Maybe it's not the range, although it looks like one, but maybe it's actually more of a triangle pattern, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here it could be like that symmetrical triangle pattern, but again, we need to wait until we see some more confirmation. But if it is, we look at the prevailing trend. The prevailing trend was to the downside. In general, maybe this could be forming something of a pennant. If we look at the weekly chart, we'll see that, hey, maybe that's the case. It's not a perfect flag, but it could be, and it if the prevailing trend is to the downside, then there is a good chance we could see this one breaking out lower. So again, do not rush into things, ladies and gentlemen. For now, just continue monitoring this. If you are comfortable trading this, be my guest. The only thing is that do promise me you'll risk small and have your stop losses in place. Let's jump into platinum very quickly. I wanted to pick up on this one. Yes, pushing back up here. Okay, very interesting, but I'll get more excited with platinum if we do climb somewhere above this 1009 zone, and then we'll go from there. Natural gas, let's have a look at this one. Actually, natural gas should be somewhere right around here. Natural gas continues to drift lower. That's absolutely fine. It's all okay. But again, I think at the moment I'm still very cautious, very careful. If it starts falling below the psychological 3 level, yes, it could be quite interesting for later on. But in the short run, it could be interesting for the bears. So keep that in mind. We fell below the 200-day EMA. Look at this. So it's kind of indicating some, weakness. Very quickly on coffee here. I just wanted to quickly pick up on this one. Coffee, look, it's kind of drifting lower right now, so I think that it could be the case. And I think maybe this is something that, this is something that kind of we could examine it actually at the moment. I think that if we do drop below the 362 territory, I'll consider a move towards the 200-day EMA. Then after that, the downside line here is taken from the high of the 29th of April. So yes, if we do break this downside line, we do pop back above the 50-day EMA here, shown as the green line. Yep, we could consider some higher areas. Let's jump into, let me just jump into corn. Let's have a look at this one. Corn, yes, drifting nicely to the downside, but found strong support around here, around this 442 zone. Okay, that's quite interesting. Right, so if we do clear this territory, well, fair enough. We could see a move to the downside, but at the moment it's getting a nice little hold up. Sugar looking good here, and my favorite sugar is holding still above this territory, the 17.5 zone, or actually I would say it this way, it's oscillating around the 17.5 zone, and for now I would say just kind of be careful, be cautious with it. 17.5 zone is the one that I'm watching. If we do fall below it, that's kind of increasing my chances of examining the downside more, but I would still prefer a drop below the 17 level. For the upside, to be a little bit more on the safe side, 18.5, or actually 18.2930 zone here is the one that I'm keeping an eye on, together with the 50-day EMA. Let's jump into cryptos. Wait, just a second. Let's have a look at Forex. What's happening with Forex? Yes, AUDUSD. So, as I said, keep your eyes on the Australian Reserve Bank of Australia this week. They're coming out on Tuesday. Yep, with the interest rate decision, and we are expected to see a decline. So in a way, we could see some weakness in the Australian dollar. But I'm actually not rushing into anything yet, because I think we could see a little bit move to the upside here. But again, I think that I'm going to get more comfortable with the upside if we do push above the 0.6515. If we can clear that zone here, wonderful. I'll go I'll go higher. But at the moment, what I'm considering is, let's say, okay, we could see a push higher, but then, you know, RBA comes out with the rate cut. We see Australian dollar going lower. Of course, don't get me wrong, this is already kind of priced in. That's fine, but still, we could see that little move to the downside just because of the fact. However, would I go really straight away to the downside? No, because I do have a few barriers here that I need to getting overcome first. For example, okay, there's an upside line here. This one right here. It coincides nicely. Let me get rid of this line. It coincides nicely with the 50 and the 100-day EMA. If that gets cleared, amazing. I will go a little bit more to the downside, and then we'll just take it from there. Very simple right now here for me on AUDUSD. While we remain here, I'm just observing the price action. AUDJPY. We're resting nicely on the 50-day EMA. Look, I'm considering a possible rebound. However, I'm going to get comfortable with the upside if we do push above this territory, this 95.75 territory. If we can clear that, and we can clear also the 200-day EMA, that's great, wonderful. I'll go higher. NZD USD. So just wanted to pick up on the New Zealand data. So we got the PPIs, the Q-on-Q PPIs, which came out a little bit on the lower side. But again, that's playing out somehow positively for this pair. But I think it's not the New Zealand PPIs that are the driving force here. I think it's the weaker US dollar, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a further push away from these EMAs, but I would say that, you know, again, the same story like with Australian dollar. I would rather wait for a push somewhere above this territory, above the 0.6029, and then kind of go from there. USDJPY. USDJPY is at an interesting spot here as well. And hey, look, this upside line is something that I'm watching here. If we can rebound from this upside line, wonderful. I'll go more to the upside, and then we'll go from there basically. So and if we do clear this little territory, or maybe actually, you know what, I think it's difficult to find a good spot here. So this 144, I think that becomes quite an important area to watch. So maybe, just maybe, we could actually, you know, wait for a break of this upside line and the 144 zone in order to go lower. But for now, we're cautiously bullish still on this one. USDCAD, yes, we're seeing a little bit of weakness in the US dollar. We are seeing Canadian dollar getting stronger, but again, as I said to you, keep your eyes on the economic data this week on Canada. So Canada is closed today, don't forget that. But tomorrow, yes, we get the CPIs, the Canadian CPIs, and then on Thursday we get the Canadian PPIs. So yes, at the moment we're stalling. I don't think that there's going to happen much, but it's still quite interesting. We could be kind of coiling up here. We could be we could be getting into a bit of a squeeze, something like this. And if we do clear one of the sides of this triangle, then great. I'll consider the next short-term directional move. What I'm also not excluding is that if we do fall below the lower side of this triangle, but then we kind of create a false breakout, then yes, it could be a nice signal for me that we are ready to move to the upside. USDCHF very quickly, and let's have a look at what's happening here on USDCHF, because that one got kind of damaged a while ago. You know, like the dollar really got hit against the Swiss franc. I mean, yeah, but we did manage to recover somewhat. But let's see what's going to happen with this upside line right here. At the moment, it could be somewhat of a bullish indication, but again, a confirmation is still required. So I'm still gonna, like I said, I'm gonna continue examining this little upside line. But if we start falling below it, if we start falling somewhere below this little territory right here, below this upside line and this 0.8194 zone, then yes, great, I'll consider a move lower. Let's jump into the euro very quickly. Euro USD, of course, we're keeping a close eye on the economic data, which is coming out this week. So from the Eurozone, let me just refresh my memory here. So the main effects, yes, we have the manufacturing, the composite manufacturing services PMIs, the flash, the estimates, but of course this is the one that we're watching. It's coming out soon, so keep your eyes on it. The EU inflation figures, and at the moment we are expected to, for the numbers to be the same as previous at 2.2. Look, I said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, with European data, it's sometimes really not very exciting because they most of the time come out as expected, as as forecasted. And looking at this picture here on Euro USD, we're seeing a nice pop, but push higher again. Like I said, the US dollar is getting weaker a little bit. But look, from the technical perspective, a breakout of this downside line is required. So let's say if we can get that move, amazing. I'll go slowly to the upside here. For the downside, I would prefer to wait for a drop not only below the 50-day EMA shown here as the green line, but also a drop below the 1.1065 zone. EUROJPY, EUROJPY, it's, let me just load it up here. For some reason, yes, it's stalling right now. My computer is probably on the slower side today as well, so like me. Look, EUROJPY, what do we see here? Well, we see here a massive range happening. It's not a picture perfect range, to be honest, but still somewhat of a range. So look, while we remain inside the pattern, I mean, we could go up and down, but again, at the moment, I'm just being very careful, very cautious. I mean, we're currently sitting above the 100-day EMA. If my other EMAs will load up, that would be spectacular. But at the moment, it seems like everything is lagging a little bit here on my side. So, okay, right. Look, I'll say it this way. Yes, for now, I mean, yeah, we can. Okay, there we go. The 50-day EMA popped. So we tested this morning, and we rebounded from it. So as long as we stay above that 50-day EMA, above all the EMAs on my daily chart here, then yes, I'm going to continue targeting the upside. Let's jump into GBPUSD, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully this loads up. Yeah, everything is just on the slower side today on my side, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize for that. Yeah, unfortunately cannot control this. Look, it's a similar situation as if with the Euro USD. We're also seeing GBPUSD pushing nicely to the upside. Again, my preference here, despite where we're going to be, my preference is just to wait for a push over the 1.3444 in order to go to the upside. Let's jump into the crypto world. This is, as always, for dessert. BTC USD, the first one, and let me just see if this can load up quicker somehow. Right, let's jump. Yes, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. This is, like I said, this is a little bit on my side here, and yeah. Look, the crypto world. Okay. Now, this is the interesting bit. Ignore the, we don't need the EMAs for now. 109.39, well, 109,000 and almost 400 here is the current all-time high. We came very close today. Look at this. We came very close, then we failed, and we started drifting back down. So I'm not really rushing into things yet. I am just going to go slowly, step by step. For now, I mean, in order to continue going higher, I would say just continue to trade above the 100,000 zone, and I will remain somewhat positive. Still, of course, I would like to see a break above this 109,400 zone. But hey, at the moment, we're seeing a little bit of a retracement. That's fine. So if we continue to trade above this area, I will continue targeting the upside. Bitcoin Cash, one of my favorite ones as well, which is also lagging a little bit. So yes, there we go. This is something that is not happening. I hope it was not happening for me this week, but there we go. The Monday for me did not start well, but yeah, what can I say? It happens, you know. So hopefully on Wednesday, the live session on Wednesday will go a little bit more smooth, you know. So yes, we're seeing a decline here on Bitcoin Cash. Similar story. I need to see some clearances of some key areas of resistance. 433 is the one that I'm watching. So hey, for now I'm just gonna keep an eye on this one. And this is my barrier, like I said, for the upside. I'm not really gonna start examining anything else, you know, for the upside unless we start clearing this territory. Maybe, just maybe, we could start, you know, keep an eye on today's high near the 408 zone, 409 zone. But if you're, you know, if you're a little bit on the cautious side, then yeah, keep your eyes on the 433 zone. Why? Because then a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. Just quickly on Ethereum. Well, the word quickly probably doesn't apply today on this one. Let me just see if I can save this. Yeah, let me refresh the charts here. So this is Ethereum, yes, 2,400. We're still holding above that. Again, similar story. I would prefer to wait for a clearance of this 2,737 zone. Okay, but yeah, for now that's unfortunately the case. We need to kind of play the waiting game here right now. We're getting a nice little retracement. That's fine. I'm not really going to exclude the possibility of seeing a retracement all the way here towards this upside line. But hey, maybe one of the EMAs could provide a bit of support. Ripple. Ripple is, yes, testing the EMAs here. It remains above the 50 and the 100-day EMAs, so still somewhat of a positive sign. However, I need a confirmation break here. So a confirmation break for me would come on a break of this downside line taken from the highest point of January of this year, and in general the highest point of this year, the current highest point of this year. If we can clear this downside line, then yes, great, more buyers could come in. We could maybe see this 2.65 territory getting, you know, cleared as well. And yes, if we do that, then a forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. Litecoin is playing around with that 100 zone, but currently resting below it. However, at the same time, resting above all my EMAs, so still a chance for a pop back up. If we do push back over the psychological 100 level, I'm considering a move higher. Dogecoin, yes, similar story, nice little retracement here, but we still remain above the EMAs, so there is a good chance still for this one to move back up, because maybe this one is just flagging out. Maybe this is forming a nice bullish flag. And Polkadot, similar story. Maybe this is also providing us with a nice little bullish flag, especially you can see this clearly on a weekly chart, but the 5.27 territory is the one that I think, let me just double check very quickly, 5.37 I would say is the one that I'm watching here on. You can see this clearly on the weekly. I think the weekly chart is much better, and then the daily in this specific instrument, because also on the weekly I can see the 50-day EMA coinciding nicely with this 5.37 barrier. If that gets cleared, amazing. I will go higher. I will go, you know, further north towards my 100-day EMA here, shown as the blue line on the weekly chart, and then we'll go from there. And that is roughly around the 6.40 zone, something like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's it for this session. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I do apologize for the little kind of issues here, lagging issues on some of the charts. But hey, nothing can go all the time good and, you know, and smoothly, especially when it's a Monday. So yes, it's a difficult one. So hey, hopefully you enjoyed the session. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching this one till the end. I really appreciate that. And as always, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, risk only what you can afford to lose, don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.